So one of the long-term running wrestling phrases that is used a lot by fans is XPac Heat. And, this wrestler is not getting heat. They're getting XPac Heat. So, Adam, what is XPac Heat?
XPac Heat, my feelings on it taken out of the equation is that a wrestler is not being booed because the fans are appreciating their work and leaning into the storyline that is generally being booked of, oh, you dastardly villain. It's basically, get off my screens. I hate this TV show. If you're still around, I'm just going to change the channel. That, I think, basically is XPac Heat. And I really don't... I do agree that it exists, but XPac never had it. XPac was a fine heel. He doesn't deserve this.
Yeah, I feel like he's been unfairly painted with this brush because it's like when I was a kid watching the Attitude Era, I quite liked X-Pac, right? Like I thought he was quite cool. I liked his entrance music. I liked the way that he carried himself to the ring. I liked watching him have a wrestle. Exactly. Even with X Factor, you dealing with the X Factor. I got everything I ever wanted.
I'm never gonna give that back. I really enjoyed hating X Factor. Like I really didn't want them to win any matches. I thought they were a bunch of obnoxious butt heads. But I don't really get it. Maybe was there like a period of TV where X-Pac was? I think it was the stuff with Kane, right? That's where it originated, when it was a really weird angle. Kane got girlfriend in Tori, then X-Pac stole Tori, and then they just fought constantly over and over again, with X-Pac somehow winning most of the time. So I guess I can understand like X-Pac booking, but yeah. XPac Heat. I don't know. I just think, especially now, it feels like there are so many more candidates for it.
Yeah, totally.
And I also don't like. So WWE have this thing, right, where they fetishize reactions. Like it doesn't matter if you boo me, it doesn't matter if you cheer me, you always react to me. That's the John Cena line. That's the Roman Reigns line. And I think that is way more like a damaging thing. The idea that getting a reaction, regardless of what reaction it is doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Because like I think Roman Reigns heat is probably a better, like even then I hate calling it that, because Roman Reigns I think is great. But Roman Reigns heat, I guess, makes sense because it's heat that doesn't serve the story you're telling. X-Pac was a heel. So like the fact that everyone booed him and hated him, that did in some way, even if he annoyed you legitimately, serve the story that was being told. Whereas Roman Reigns gets heat, but is being booked in a babyface narrative. He's overcoming odds that people don't want him to overcome. So like in that sense, the heat is not in service to the story, whereas X-Pac's always was, in a loose sense.
The only one I could really think of in terms of like when X-Pac was getting booed when they didn't really want that reaction was during the Invasion, because everyone, if you were on Team WWF, you were the babyface. But at the Invasion pay-per-view, even though X-Pac was the babyface going into the Cruiserweight champion versus light heavyweight champion match, I think he had, was it against Kidman? If I remember
I think
correctly?
it was against, I think it was against Rob Van Dam, wasn't it?
No, Rob Van Dam faced Hardy, didn't he?
Oh, yes. No, you're absolutely right. I think maybe it was Kidman. Kidman was the invader. Yeah.
But even then, people were super into Billy Kidman, but not into X-Pac. That's about the only time I could really think of where X-Pac heat was people just did not want to see X-Pac. And I find it very interesting as well now that when you hear shoot interviews that people have done over the years with about Waltman, about wrestling him, is that he is WWE's measuring stick. Like if you go in there, if you can work a good match with Waltman, or if Waltman can carry you to a good match, then you'll be fine. Like Jericho talked about this in his book, that when he came in, that was what he was given. Like that was almost his challenge, was go out there and work with Waltman. And if you can get over with that, then you're fine. So Waltman was this sort of like measuring stick of success in the company. But yet to the fan perspective, it was like, no, boo, I don't like X-Pac. And he's now been branded with this thing of being like, yeah, it's bad heat or go away heat. And I don't think that's particularly fair on poor old Sean.
No, I don't think so. Who would you? Let's say you have to upgrade XPac Heat. Whom would you tarnish with the heat brush?
Well, I suppose, like you mentioned, the Roman is the sort of like good, he's almost a good replacement for that. But you'd go a step back and say that it's Cena. Like Cena was their all-time big babyface that they wanted, that the fans rejected. And they would have JR on commentary be like, oh, it's that mixed reaction for John Cena, even though it was like predominantly booing. They're like, well, John Cena with that, he's a controversial one, is John Cena. People really like that young plucky Triple H instead. And but see, I suppose maybe John Cena heat is like the best thing for it. Like as you said, it's heat that doesn't serve the story.
Yeah, I think the only time where, because you've got that, babyface getting booed when they shouldn't be. But I think the only time I can actually think of in my recent memory where I actually experienced it as a fan, whereas like a heel being a heel, but I don't want to see them. Like, get off my screens. This is terrible. Would be Jinder Mahal when he was WWE champion. I thought that that whole title run was real bad, real damaging for pretty much everyone that Jinder Mahal came into contact with, except the Sings. Elevated them when Randy Orton wasn't murdering them. That was it. I think that's the only time which we just like, it doesn't matter what storyline you're pitching to me. I don't want to see Jinder Mahal. I don't mind him now that he's not champion. But that, like, when he's like, when Cena and Nakamura are wrestling each other to decide who faces Jinder Mahal, like, I think that's just when I feel like I'm going mad and I don't want to see the product. And like a lot of people got up in my kind of face for that at the time, because they were just like, well, you hate him, therefore he's a good heel. And it's just like, it was so weird to see Smarks talk about it in those terms, because those are people who would use terms like XPac Heat, but they also would defend a Jinder Mahal title reign being like, well, you hate him. So
yeah, I mean, we had the same things with Baron Corbin last year, and it was never a case that we don't like Baron Corbin, because I think Baron Corbin's a very fine promo. He's not that bad in the ring. He's a total WWE guy in the ring, and that's absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. Miz is the same way. But I did not want to see him on TV because I thought he was being pushed beyond his means. He is a great mid-card heel. Like the position he's in now as King Corbin is perfectly suited to Baron Corbin. Do you know what Baron Corbin is not? The Money in the Bank holder and a potential Universal Champion against Seth Rollins. Like that, he was pushed beyond his means, if you will, sort of pushed upon his preferred position. And I think that's the same thing with Jinder. Jinder would have been a perfectly fine mid-level heel in that Intercontinental US title picture scene. But as WWE champion, beating Shinsuke Nakamura was not the best place for Jinder, and it was the wrong kind of heat. You're absolutely right.